Hello everyone. It's a great pleasure to have such an opportunity to present our research work entitled Enhanced Deep Customizations in a Multi-Tenant SaaS Application using the BPMN. I am Amira Ksiksi, the presenter and the author of this paper, and I'm a member of the Regime Lab in the National Engineering School of Sfax in Tunisia. Let's get started with the plan of our presentation. In this presentation, we will see the abstract, the introduction, the related work, the background, the methodology, the experimentations, and the conclusion and the future work. Let's get started with the abstract. A multi-tenant application aims to provide a single instance of an application with the capability for each organization to have its own specific functionalities. In order to enhance the deep customizations, we propose a BPMN-based customizations method to provide to each organization the capability to create its own features. To this end, we propose to add an administration module, which helps us to provide to each organization the capability to create reusable and easy to configure forms, scripts, and notifications that can be then integrated in a BPMN workflows tasks. Such a method has proved its capability to introduce new functionalities by using understandable graphical representations, which reduces the need for the vendor's intervention as well as the production costs. On one hand, providing the customizations to each organization as microservices is expensive and time-consuming. As it requires from the organization that provides the service to implement the new functionalities and add the needed configurations to make it accessible only by the specific tenant that has asked for those customizations. However, such a method is challenged with the increasing demands of changing requirements of tenants. Moreover, it limits the customizations that can be added. On the other hand, providing customizations by using a workflow as a service, which provides the users with the third-party cloud-managed services to deploy their workflows created by using the business process management and notation, reduces the time and the cost of production. Nevertheless, it suffers of independent and complex configurations. To this end, we propose to create an administration module that facilitates the creation of reusable configurations of the different types of tasks in the BPMN 2.0 and to create workflows that exploit the created configurations by using a drag and drop of components through customizing the BPMN.io extension. Our methods have proved its capability in defining new functionalities in a short time and is cheaper than intrusive and non-intrusive customizations due to the SaaS pay-as-you-go feature that is affected just with the newly created components. The major contributions of this paper are twofold. First of all, we have proposed a BPMN-based customization method. Then we provide a demonstration of deep customizations through a BPMN-based multi-tenant SaaS application as a case study. Now we proceed to the related work. Providing tenant-specific customization in a multi-tenant SaaS is a challenging task. By using intrusive custom microservices, Song et al. Proposed an architecture for multi-tenant SaaS customizations. The intrusive microservices aim to provide accessibility to the customizations that are introduced in separate microservices by registration and mapping of the customizations using tenant managers. Once the tenant request reaches this part, it will be redirected to the registered microservices. However, Nguyen and Muller propose a non-intrusive customization framework called MISC Cloud. This framework allows the multi-tenant SaaS customization through an API gateway to manage the authority of customizations API calls. So, both intrusive and non-intrusive approaches allow deep customization of multi-tenant SaaS applications. However, to provide the flexibility to adapt to the specific tenant's changing requirements, the BPMN represents a good solution due to its capability in creating executable workflows using easy graphical customization. So the workflow engines such as Camanda and Flowable provide users with the capability of creating and executing business processes described in the BPMN 2.0. In fact, both Camanda and Flowable support multi-tenancy in their latest versions. However, the configuration of workflows tasks such as user task and send task is still complex and does not provide the tenant with the capability of creating reusable configurations. So recently, multiple methods have been proposed to deal with the scheduling of multiple workflow concerns in the workflow as a service solutions. However, they do not address the workflow's creation challenges. So as a background now, we have the BPMN, which is a visual modeling language for business processes that help us to create executable workflows. In BPMN, pools are used to present a participant in a collaboration, and each pool can contain multiple lands, which helps to further organize the workflow's activities. Recently, several researches have been conducted to improve the BPMN capabilities. On one hand, Ribeiro et al. Introduced a new BPMN extension that aims to model inter-organizational processes. On the other hand, Delgado et al. Proposed a model-driven approach to deal with the BPMN variants. Now we have the Form.io, which is a framework that facilitates the creation of forms by using a drag-and-drop feature. Due to the use of APIs, Form.io created forms can be easily shaded and exploited in customizable applications. Moreover, as the BPMN have the start event and the user task, each of them must contain a form to be filled. So the Form.io created forms can be easily integrated. To this end, we exploited the Form.io form builder to create forms for the BPMN workflow. Now we proceed to the methodology. In order to propose deep customizations in a multi-tenant SaaS application that reduce the cost and time of production, we propose to provide an administration module that provides each tenant with the capability to create its own customizations. So the main component of this module is the BPMN workflows constructor. It helps us to create executable workflows. However, as the different tasks in the BPMN require to be configured so it can be deployed and executed, we provide the necessary components to prepare the needed reusable configurations, and we modify the BPMN.io to accept the use of the reusable configurations through adding select lists that are related to the created configurations. So first of all, we have provided the form builder that uses the form.io extension to provide to the tenant the capability of creating forms using the drag and drop feature. The created forms can be easily integrated in a user task or a start event by selecting the required form from a select list. A user task and the start event can contain multiple forms with the capability of selecting for each form if it is editable or not by checking a checkbox. Then, we provide the notification builder, which helps to configure the email so it can be integrated in the send task by selecting a single notification for each send task. Also, we provide a script builder to introduce a Groovy script that can be integrated in a script task. Otherwise, the service provider can provide the other customizations in the microservices using the Java delegate that can be called from a service task. To proceed to the workflow deployment and execution, we provide a microservice that aims to add the executable process to the menu and configure the notification of each user task, as well as the fields to be shown in the table relevant to this process. So at that time, by accessing the menu relevant to the process, a tenant can create new instance of the process and access the historical variables relevant to completed as well as uncompleted the process's executions. So now let's proceed to the experimentation. As experimentation, we provide an illustration of a BPMN-based multi-tenant SaaS application developed from scratch. In order to illustrate the BPMN-based customization, we provide an example of a workflow that contains a start event, a user task, a send task, and a script task to explain their configurations. So first, we proceed to the form creation for the start event and the user task as shown in figure 1. This is the form creator. We have to fill all those fields, and then we can create the form by using a drag and drop of components, which is the extension of the form EO extension here. So the form code, which is filled here, and the field keys, which are added to each field, are important to provide the accessibility to the data in the script tasks and the gateway conditions. Then we proceed to the creation of the configuration for the emailers in the notification builder for the send task as represented in this figure. So we have to add all this information by adding to who will be sent this email. We can specify it by adding the email or also by selecting the roles that have been added in our application. And then we have to proceed to add also the subject and the body of this email. So once the workflow achieves the send task, the email will be sent to those users that are added in these elements here. So thereafter, we present the creation of a simple script using the script creator for the script task as shown in this figure. So in the script task, new variables can be introduced, like in this case, we have identified the new variable called reference set that takes as value true. We can also get variables by using execution get variable, by accessing to the variables in the forms by using the identification that we have set, which is the code of the form, followed by dot and the key of the field. And also we can add here a new business logic. So finally, we proceed to the workflow creation and the tasks configuration as shown here in this figure. So the tasks configuration is done through selecting the corresponding configuration from a select list that contains the list of created forms, scripts, or notifications according to the task type. For example, we have here these elements or those details elements are shown for every start event and user task. So if you are selecting a start event or a user task, you have to select the form from this select list and choose if you want it editable or not, and click on this plus button here, so the form will be added in this list. So for each start event and user task, we can add multiple forms, and this is customizations that we have added to the BPMN.io extension. So the same thing for the send task and the script. We have added the customization to this plugin or this extension to provide the capability to use the select list and access to the elements that we have created. So the list, for example, for the forms shows all the forms that we have already created. The same thing for the send task. We see all the send tasks or the notifications that we have created, and we select an element from them. And also for the script tasks, we see the list of scripts that we have created, and we can select one. So the only difference is that for those start event and user task, we can use multiple formats, but for the send task and the script task is that we have to select only one. So this is how we have defined the reusability. So once the workflow is ready, we start to prepare the deployment and the configuration of the notification and table of instances. So at the beginning, we start with adding the workflow here. So we see a small notification here in green, which show that the workflow have been deployed successfully. And we identify the name of this menu that will be shown that will provide the access to this specific workflow. And then by clicking on submit, we will see this page, which helps us to create how will be the notifications. So for each workflow, we have to select the workflow and the form that will be used. Not the workflow here. It have to be yes, yeah. It is the workflow here, and then we proceed to select the step, which is the user task. Sorry. So once we select the user task, we will see here the different fields that will be opened that are existing in the forms in this specific user task. And we can do it for a lot of forms. So we have to do it for all the user tasks. So then when we click on submit button, we go to this page, which helps us to select the different fields that we want them to be shown in the table of instances relevant to this specific workflow. So this is an example of a table of fields relevant to this process. So those fields here are selected in this step here. And during the execution of the workflow, for each user task, we will see the different fields that have been selected in this step here. So the execution of the workflow now becomes possible by accessing the process from the menu and filling the start event form, and all historical data still accessible from the table of instances. Here we can access the instances values from those buttons, and also to create new instance, we can access to this button here. So to conclude now, in this paper, we proposed to create an administration module to easily create reusable configurations that can be then called in a BPMN workflow of a BPMN-based multi-tenant SaaS application. And a demonstration of the proposed method is illustrated with a case study of a BPMN-based multi-tenant SaaS application developed from scratch. So due to the reusability of configurations, our method has proved its capability to reduce the time of production as well as the cost of customizations. And as a future work, we aim to provide the semantic interoperability over the BPMN processes instances and integrate the artificial intelligence to further enhance the capability of our method. So, and thank you for your attention.